But also bear in mind, so we in the country that we've always glamorized drugs in this country.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So
Sure.
it's kind of like it's inherent in our society. You know what I mean? It's
hmm,
just there. So
yeah,
it's in music, it's in movies, it's in any kind of media you could think of. There's you know what I mean, and so
yeah.
people are exposed to these things. So like when you, I can't speak to for me personally. I can't connect the dots from hey, I'm gonna smoke this weed to hey, I'm gonna snort this coke. I don't know where that connects. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
my brain doesn't mash those two together. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Some
Yeah.
people will take that leap and say, "Hey, I need to get higher," and okay, I tried coke. Let me try heroin. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Right.
know that mentality, but I'm sure there are people. I think that's to Jan's point about addictive personalities, like
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
that are continuously chasing that high. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I think this is just literally in the fabric of America's DNA. And it's really no way for us to
Absolutely.
for it to be completely washed out. It just is what it is. So
Absolutely.
That's a good point. I
And
think it's fascinating though that it's in the fabric of our culture because it's just when you step back and look at it, it's strange. It's really strange. And even we're talking about inadvertently we're talking about being poor and the drug market. There are poor drugs, but drugs are used all throughout the state, all throughout the stages
The social classes.
of social class throughout societies.
yeah,
Rich people use drugs,
yeah.
middle class people use everybody uses illicit drugs, and that's what make the drug market so crazy here. But it's interesting to me because it's like without that, there's no drug market. And I always thought about that during the war on drugs and talking about drugs, all the stuff we've seen in our lifetime.
Right.
I used to think about that when I was a kid. I was like, man, I said, what if nobody wanted it? what if nobody what if
And that's the
nobody
thing that they're
wanted
trying to do. They think if they decrease demand, then it will decrease supply. But how do you decrease demand, though? And I
Well,
think
that's
that
the
people have been
question.
trying to figure that out for centuries. But
Right.
you
but
have
That's to
decreasing
me.
to.
demand would never decrease supply. What you're going to end up doing is giving me more supply. I'm gonna have ample because less people are buying. So it's just now
Well,
I'm
no, I think you're right, B. I think what Twin is saying that if you decrease demand, yeah, the drugs will be there, but no one's going to be shipping them here because no one will be buying them. You know what I'm saying?
Their,
Like,
their
yeah,
value will go down.
economically the
if,
price will go up.
But
That's what happens.
true. Well,
but
no,
here's the
actually, the price would probably go down if
right
nobody
because
wanted it.
Okay,
there's no
all
demand
right,
on it.
You know
my
what I'm
bad. You're
There's
saying?
right.
no demand.
But at the same time, go ahead, Twin. I'm sorry.
Oh no, no, go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying that imagine a world where nobody wanted it. Like remember there were times like for example, there was times when people was buying Fat Farm. Everybody wanted Fat Farm or they wanted used jeans,
Yeah,
damaged,
yeah.
cross colors.
Mhm.
Just for example, I don't mean to use our black brands as an example, but saying you get where I'm
No,
saying.
I'm glad you did that because what happens is those. That's the parallel there is that every one of those brands, when people got tired of it, they moved on to a different brand. They still bought clothes, so they're still going to buy
Hmm.
drugs, just a different drug when they're tired of. So they're going to get tired of whatever this particular high is and move on to a new drug because they're still going to want something to get them that feeling. Just like
Hmm.
you still have to have. You went from Fat Farm to Fubu. You know what I mean? I'm not going to wear Fat
Right,
Farm no more, but you still got to have them clothes. So
right.
same
Yeah.
concept. They're going to just move on to something new. That's how we ended up where we are as far as getting to fentanyl, because
You know what? That's a great point.
every
That's
decade
a
has
great
had
point.
its own version of fentanyl.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm,
We just move
True.
on from
something
this
else.
drug to this drug to this drug. That's just where.
Actually, that's a really really good point, and you know why? Because you're right. Because I don't know, I'm not in the streets, but imagine somebody who's who said, "I'm going to sell this crack," and nobody wants it anymore. Like, what is that?
Nope.
Old. Like, now we know now it's about pills. Because remember,
Mhm.
at one point, ecstasy was really big. Remember,
Hmm.
ecstasy
That's
was really
right.
big at one point.
Right.
And these synthetic drugs, and you mentioned that both of you, both everybody mentioned it, but the synthetic drugs it's actually interesting because you get away from having needing something to come from the ground and something that you can create. Because when
Yeah.
we were coming up, the only synthetic drug I knew of was methamphetamine or meth. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Stuff that they cook that's synthetic. But
Mhm.
if you're using things that are synthetic, it's an unlimited supply. And to your point, B, it's a new high, and that's what I think about America. We're always searching a different high.
Yep.
So are we? Do you think we're more? Are we more stressed than everybody else? Is that something that you guys think,
I think
or do we not handle stress as well?
it's relative.
I think it's that part. I just think it's that part. I think we don't handle it as well as others might. But I don't want to call us. I won't say that. That's a lie. I was gonna say
What are
weak
you gonna
minded,
say?
but that's a lot to say. But
We're
I don't
spoiled.
know.
I
It's
mean,
just
we live in a convenience culture. We want stuff and we
yeah,
Yeah.
want it now. And when
Want
we
it
have
right
a
away.
problem, we want it solved now.
Mhm.
And when we can't get it solved now, we don't know what to do with ourselves but to engage in escapism. We
escapism. Yep.
all do it. And this is the thing. I feel like anybody who's ever had a drink because they've had a hard day and they were stressed and I just really want to unwind has engaged
Mhm.
in escapism.
Yeah.
It's just to different degrees. There's
Yeah.
this is the culture that we live in. This is why you have T-shirts and socks and cups that say "mommy juice" or "it's wine o'clock."
Yeah. That's
You
a
see what
big
I'm
one.
saying? It's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is what we're being sold, and this is what we're being conditioned to believe that hey, if you're stressed out, then all you need to do is just engage in this. Just have a glass of wine.
Mhm.
Come have a nightcap with your friends. Hey, it's been a
Yep.
tough week. I'm gonna go out with the boys and have a few beers and play pool. You
Yep.
see what I'm saying? So
Right.
a substance has always been, like you said, Twin, it's part of our DNA. Always been
Hmm.
a part of what we do and how we unwind and how we escape from our
Mhm.
problems.
To,
And
to to y'all's point, I mean, if you think about alcohol, we
Mhm.
literally put it. We outlawed it in the
Right,
Constitution. We outlawed it, and it was like, you know what? Nah, we kind of want that back. You know,
right,
like,
right, right. Bring that
let's go
back.
ahead and let's ratify that. We don't need. So it's always been some kind of substance. It's just ingrained in us as a country, and it
Yeah.
goes way back further. This is generations deep. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
absolutely, until we learned how
Well,
Yeah.
to deal with
remember,
our problems in a different way, we're always going to engage in escapism.
Yeah.
mm,
We don't see it as bad. I mean,
Right.
who here has not had a drink on a stressful day or after a funeral? You've been going
yeah,
through all these emotions. You stressed out. You've been crying. Man, I just somebody offers you here. You know what? Have a glass of wine.
but
Yeah.
the problem I have with that is what you said is completely accurate. I just don't see the bridge from here. Let me have this drink because I had a stressful day to let me smoke this crack because my day was
right,
messed up. And
Well, they don't.
That's
They
an
don't
important point
necessarily. They don't
because
necessarily have to go hand in hand, though.
no,
well,
I'm
I
saying
think
that there's whatever is in between in your brain. Something says this drink is not enough. Let me go to something harder, and I don't know what that part is that makes a person go to something harder from like go from just having a drink or I'm gonna just smoke this little weed to I'm going to shoot up heroin. There's
Well,
a something
well,
in
here's
your
the thing. I
brain.
don't think that there's a.
and
I'm sorry, Twin. Let me just say
what,
this real quick.
go ahead.
I don't
Yeah, please.
think that there's I don't. You're looking at it as if there's some sort of natural progression, and there isn't. There are a variety of factors that play into that for each
No, because what I'm
individual.
saying is that if I'm offered heroin, me personally, I'm going to say no. Somebody else is
Right.
He's
going to say
giving
yes.
you,
I don't know
you know
why
what it
they're
is.
saying the yes. Is what I'm saying.
Again,
I
there's a
can't.
I think
variety of
B.
reasons for that for each individual.
Let me say this and let me
Facts.
know if I'm off. I think what B is saying is that he's differentiating between a form of, if you want to call it, escapism
Mm-hmm.
versus completely being high out of your mind. You know what I'm saying? So to your
When does
point,
it come from
Escapism to another
escapism to
degree.
addiction and
yes,
that need
because
to
you're
have something
saying
harder and harder? And that's what I'm
yes,
saying.
There's so many
and I see
reasons
why he's
why an
making that point
individual would
though.
do that. You know what I mean?
Well,
We have to
he's
look at their
making the
life.
differentiation because you're saying you're talking about escapism,
Hmm.
which is part of the overall conversation, but I think that there's a difference in escapism. So, having a drink, people do it all over the world too. And I wouldn't say that America, I don't know if America abuses alcohol the most. That's a good thing. I probably should have looked up because I really didn't look at alcohol, although it is a drug. I didn't really look at it as something that's abused, but it is. So I
Yeah.
Yeah.
get
It's the
where
number
you're
one
coming from.
substance.
Yeah.